Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the ETS6 Roadshow 2025 as put on by KNX UK. KNX UK are the national group representing KNX in the United Kingdom, and we participate in actions born from Brussels in promotion of both the software and initiatives to continue to make KNX utilise more and more. Some of you are attending from overseas, and we also have some experienced and newer members, and some who are new to ETS6. There are people out there still using ETS4, I dare say, and ETS5. So there are new people to ETS6, and perhaps some are looking for reasons to make the jump. And some who may be more experienced but are not yet members of KNX UK. And as I mentioned earlier, this is an initiative born from Brussels that KNX UK willingly participate in. And it's one of the benefits that we have by having representation in the United Kingdom. So myself, my name's Iain Gordon. I am the current chair of KNX UK. I'm an electrician and KNX integrator and a qualified ETS tutor. I have, I think, 22 years experience within the KNX industry and have never felt a reason to do anything other than expand my knowledge about what KNX can do. And happily, KNX has met my requirements and continued to interest and stimulate me and provide fantastic solutions for my customers. Alongside me today is industry colleague and good friend Jeremy Aston. Jeremy's a KNX integrator from Channel Systems based on the south coast of the United Kingdom. And Jeremy is also a qualified KNX tutor and delivers training seminars, sessions, ETS knowledge academies throughout the United Kingdom to people who want to take their skill set further. Jeremy is our ETS ambassador here in the United Kingdom. Jeremy has a couple of decades of experience with KNX and is very well versed in its nuances. And Jeremy's got a fantastic technical mind. So it not only provides him with a way to do business, but it also interests and intrigues him, much like myself. So today's agenda. We're going to look at, or Jeremy's going to look at alongside you, what's new in ETS 6.3 and how this can benefit you. No particular indicators on that, but just a general awareness and knowledge of what ETS 6.3 is currently capable of doing and why that perhaps would best suit you. There will be a tutorial and some indications of potential best practices on how to get the best out of this software package. And this will go along to a live demonstration of ETS 6.3 itself with some advice how to utilize the interface and get the most again out of the software. And then the opportunity for you to ask questions and Jeremy to provide you with answers. In this case, we would like you to use the chat pane off to the right of the screen and feel free to put your questions as you think of them as we go through the presentation. And then once we get to the Q&A section, Tracy, our secretariat, will read the questions and Jeremy will respond. And at that point, we may invite you to speak live. We'll unmute you as an individual, but we just want to maintain some control of the voice traffic. It's important for you to know that we've got free gifts for you, for those who attend the webinar, and we have the Project Tracing app worth £42 and a voucher to increase your KNX partner star ranking on the Brussels website. Those of you who are familiar with My KNX in that portal will know that you're given star rankings based on various aspects, training, projects submitted for case studies and various other elements. Tracy, again, our secretary, she will issue these at the end of the call in the form of vouchers, and this will be emailed to you so that you can cash them in or redeem them via the knx.org website. If you can keep an eye on your inbox and junk files for a day, and if you have not received them, please just drop Tracy a line and she will resolve that for you. We also have prizes for those who stay to the end, and we'll have a draw. And we have two prizes: a KNX polo shirt, size large, so either wear it loose or fit into it snugly, and a password manager app within ETS6, which has got a value of £67. And both of these will be drawn at the end of the webinar. At this stage, I'm going to hand you over to Jeremy. Please enjoy and don't be afraid to ask questions, no matter how insignificant you may find them. We're here to improve your knowledge of ETS6. So please enjoy. Jeremy, over to you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Tracy, for your introduction and for the hard work that particularly Tracy's put in getting this together. And hopefully we'll all benefit from some conversation about ETS6 and particularly ETS 6.3. It'd be interesting to know in the chat if you're already using ETS 6.3, and if not, why not? Hopefully this session will help you understand what the new features are and why we think here at KNX UK, and also obviously the guys in Brussels, think that you really should be moving to ETS 6.3 as soon as possible and starting taking that on board. There's lots of benefits, lots of new features, and we're going to cover a few of those now, and hopefully have a look at those, not only in presentation, but also get ETS up and show you some of the things that we look at this morning. Any questions you get, please put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer those either as we go or afterwards, depending on how much time we've got. So let's get straight into it. The first thing I want to get into is the system extensions. So this is probably the number one aspect of what ETS 6.3 is offering us, particularly over ETS 5. And this is where we're talking about a number of ways of building your system topology that you can only do now in ETS 6. You can't do it in ETS 5 in the same way. So we've got a diagram there. We've got three bubbles, and they represent segment couplers, RF media couplers, and the IoT introduction products that are coming on board as well. So first of those is segment couplers. So this is where we can take a line that's already in place and put what is a bit like a line repeater in place, but it gives us a new segment. Now, the first of those allows us to do things on a wired segment. So we can extend our segment out. And because we've got KNX Secure now, that means that that segment can offer a secure domain. So the traffic in that area can be secure, unlike our old school twisted pair bus traffic. We can manage the load over that segment as well. We've got filter tables in there as well. So it makes it possible for us to manage our bus more efficiently and more effectively. And so that is a really good benefit. If you look at the bottom part of that, bottom right part of that graphic, if you imagine you've got a house and you're putting extending a line and you're putting some new switches on it outside, not only can you just hook into the existing line, but you can make that segment of the line secure. So if somebody was to come along and plug into that part of the line, they wouldn't be able to damage any of the bus at all, be any other devices on the bus. They wouldn't be able to hack through because that traffic would be secure at that point. So really efficient and effective. You don't have to create a new line. You don't have to put the line hardware in place and think about where am I going to put this new line in. You can just extend an existing line with a segment coupler, which is really, really efficient, helps you make good use of your existing wiring infrastructure without having to think about, okay, I've got to put a new line in place here, which is really good. And those security proxies are really important because they give us the ability to bring KNX Secure to an existing KNX installation. So we can bolt on a segment that is secure, and we can have potentially two segments that are secure and have traffic passing between them, and devices that are both on the insecure, unsecure side of the segment and the secure side of the segment talking to each other. So it does that translation for us, allows insecure or unsecured devices to talk to secure devices, but do that in a way that keeps those secure devices operating in the way that we want them to. So it's a really good way of extending a topology, bringing in new secure features, and making our system future-proof moving forward. And you can't do it in ETS5. You need to do it in ETS6. Most devices now offer KNX Secure, so that's giving us the functionality we need for that. So we really should be thinking about using those as much as possible. RF multi-devices. So this is an addition to the RF standard. So now we can have RF multi-devices that are able to operate in a far more efficient way and reduce battery life. So they've updated the RF protocol. So it means that we have RF devices that don't have to be on all the time. They can work in different ways so that they can be efficient and give us lots of information when we need it, but work in an equally energy efficient manner, so that when they're using their batteries, they don't need to they're not wasting battery. So that opens up the opportunity for new types of devices and new products, and those are coming along as well. And again, an RF segment, because an RF coupler is a segment coupler, it means you can add on RF devices onto an existing topology really easily. If you try and do it in ETS5, you've got to do it as a new line, which can cause you all sorts of headaches and overheads with creating that line within your system. You can just take an existing system and just add on RF with no problem at all. The next thing is the IoT. So you'll see it in the top there. We can have IoT devices on our network as well. We get secure remote access. We've got all our media combined in one installation, and we can put them wherever we like. It's really good. And talking a little bit more about IoT. So this is where we've got a new set of functions on KNX now, where we can put in IoT devices. We can see here in the illustration, we've got IoT devices connected via an IoT router and thread border router, which is a piece of kit we need for the mesh network, the thread network. That can talk to a switch connected to our IP router and route traffic around. And that's based on this IoT Point API. So what this is this is the API that allows KNX IoT devices to talk back to a normal KNX installation. It's just the mechanism that KNX have developed to enable that communication to happen. It's native IPv6, so there's a translation going on between IPv6 and IPv4, which is obviously what we're normally talking to when we're talking to IP routers. But it also gives us the opportunity to not only have wireless thread devices, but it could be over Wi-Fi, it could be over Ethernet, or even this two-wire single pair Ethernet. And there's devices coming along now on IoT. I was at a session last week in Helsinki and looking at the latest Siemens kit, which is at the moment two bits of kit. It's a KNX IoT router, which allows those IoT traffic to talk back to the rest of the KNX system, and also a thread board router, which gives us the basis for the thread network. Thread's very, very energy efficient and a small packet. You don't need a lot of information going around the network, so it's very, very reliable, good speed, good resilience on that wireless network that the thread mesh sets up. So very, very powerful. It's secure as well, so it's built on a set of existing protocols and standards. It gives us all the interoperability between the rest of the KNX infrastructure that we're used to and an ecosystem that we're used to. So our RF, our twisted pair, our KNX IP, it's all in there. And the great thing as well about KNX IoT devices is that they are commissioned inside ETS6. So it's all part of the same environment for editing and managing the system. So really, really powerful mechanism that they're building now. And those devices are coming across already. There were devices we were at uh, uh, ISE in the beginning of February, and on the KNX area there were several IoT devices that were available and coming on for us to get into the IoT world, but natively inside ETS on the KNX bus. So really, really powerful. So what else is changing in ETS6? Well, firstly, there's a lot of things happening with signing in. It's got more secure. If you've not used ETS6 now yet, you'll find that when you do use ETS6, you need to log in with your KNX ID. You can go two-factor authentication on that. It links into licensing as well, so it links through to your KNX account, and it does that even if you've got a dongle. So if you're still using a dongle, it will still require you to log in, but it's nice and secure. And it's also the basis on which the new password manager works as well. And you need two-factor authentication enabled for that. So that's a new thing that you'll see in ETS6. We've also got the close button now. If you see in the toolbar, there's a close button to close your project down. So it makes it a little bit easier for navigation. There's another navigation aspect, which is the backwards and forwards buttons. So you'll see those a bit like a browser. So if you click between, say, group addresses and you go through to different group addresses, you can click backwards and forwards between those and go through your structure quite easily. So it makes it a little bit easier to navigate. So those are some nice usability changes that they've done as well. Some more changes. If you are looking at projects, you'll see project counters. You'll see the number of projects. So we've got 2 local projects there and 49 archive projects in the archive. If you're not using the project archive, then I would ask you why not. It's a fantastic way of keeping your projects safe and secure, sharing them with the team. You've got the basics of that already in ETS5, so you can use it in ETS5 and it works very, very similarly in ETS6 as well. We use it all the time within our organization. So we've got multiple engineers and we archive projects. We can check a project out, lock it. So one engineer can work on it, then they can put it back into the system, back into the archive. We store our archive on Dropbox, and you could use other shared services, so they're nicely backed up in the cloud, nice and secure, and we don't lose information. If you have a difference between 2 versions, if somebody accidentally works on a project offline, you see that. So you'll see that red a little icon up on the top right there. That shows that that's in a conflicted state. But you can look at the differences between projects and see those differences and then decide, okay, how am I going to synchronize those? There's not an automatic kind of merge at the moment, but I suspect that might be on the cards at some point. But it is a very, very useful feature that allows you to see the differences between projects and work out, okay, was somebody just making a quick change, or do I need to integrate this in the main project that we're working on? But we find archiving absolutely fantastic, and although it was in ETS5, it's really good in ETS6, and absolutely, even if you work on your own as an independent programmer, integrator, please use it because it's a fantastic, safe way of keeping your projects backed up and accessible. You can do a couple of things as well. You can convert your ETS archive project And you can also have, you can link it to multiple folders as well. So you can have different archives for different things if you want to, and store them in different places. And you've also got this project passwords. So any secure project will, or any project with secure devices will require a password. That can get interesting to manage if you use lots of different passwords, which is obviously good practice. But there's the new password manager app, which helps store those in your MyKNX account. And if you get that, it's a great way of not having to enter your password all the time. Okay, next. I'm rushing through this quite quickly, but I want to get on to a number of things. There's quite a lot to get through, and I want to get on to showing some of this to you as well. So the next thing is licensing. So if you've ever tried to use ETS apps and license those and get those on a dongle and get those in your system, it can be a pain in the backside. They've really streamlined that, particularly in the very latest build of 6.3.6.3.1, which literally has just been available in the past couple of days. This now brings up licenses that are available in your MyKNX account and will allow you to allocate them to your particular instance of ETS. I used it only this morning and it worked really, really well. And you can activate it. Very, very simple to bring those licenses in to see what is available. You're not having to download files, put them on a dongle. If you're using the cloud-based license now, which is really good, then it's even easier. We actually use as a bit of a background. We use both types in our business. We've still got historical dongles, so we still use those. They're good if you're somewhere where you don't have any network access, because obviously with a cloud-based license, the initial sign-on needs to be through your through the cloud, so you need internet access. But dongles also get damaged. Dongles might get lost. Dongles are not available as standard now. Um, so when you buy a new ETS license, you may want to activate it to a cloud license, and that's really good. So we use that as a backup. We use that if we want to use a ETS license on a project remotely. We can just download ETS to a PC, anybody's PC, and use the cloud license and get into ETS that way without a dongle. So we have one of those around which we can use, and it's a fantastic way of protecting yourself if you're still using dongles, and wanting to make sure that you're not caught out without a dongle, which can happen. Um, Password protected. I've already mentioned that. Any project now that has a secure device will require a password, and the password manager is a great app that's available. It does cost, but I think that's why there's a great offer if you stick around to hopefully win yourself one of those licenses. But it's a good little ETS app that saves that away and allows you to keep your project passwords safe. You can export them and that sort of thing as well. Okay. So the next one, this is more inside ETS now. Functionally, one thing that is coming along in ETS is what they call the semantic data model, the KNX information model. This is a way of describing what happens with devices, what devices do, and what your building is like a little bit more meaningfully. So at the moment, ETS just relies on data types. So I'd have two devices talking to each other. They use a 1 bit, or they use a 1 byte, or they use a 2 byte, whatever it might be. And ETS doesn't really know anything about the underlying devices. It doesn't really know anything about what it's doing. They're adding in this sort of metadata around devices, around what devices do, to help ETS understand. So you have you've always had sort of functions inside ETS, but those have been taken to the next level now. So you can you can build a building with a light in it, with something like a light, a function like a light. ETS knows what a light does. It knows it needs a switching object. It knows it needs a feedback object. If it's a dimming lamp, it will also have some brightness values and dimming options capability associated with it. And ETS or KNX are asking manufacturers to provide this semantic data around their device as well, which is starting to come on board. So when a device gets put into ETS, ETS knows more about what those objects do. So rather than just being a bunch of data objects, what we have now is the opportunity to say, right, okay, I've got a dimmer here, and these objects are related to a channel for a dimmer. And I've got my on-off object, I've got my feedback, my status feedback, I've got my brightness value, I've got my brightness feedback, and it can use that intelligently. It can use it intelligently when it programs, so it just makes programming faster, and also to output data. So there's a new output file format, export format called Turtle, which is a semantic language, allows you to export all this information out, and visualizations can then take that and create a visualization that is really uh, uh, knows exactly what it needs to do. So it creates you could create a visualization straight away from a Turtle file. Really useful, really useful option there. Next thing is then RF telegrams. And this was related into the diagnostics for RF. This is where, because of secure, not all RF can talk to other RF devices if it's not in the same domain, security domain. So if you've got two segments and they will have different RFIDs, and you'll need to allow them to talk to each other. But it also means when you're doing diagnostics, you may be only talking to one segment and not the other segment. So that can mean some telegrams you may miss. And ETS will tell you this now. It'll warn you about this and make sure that you're aware that, hang on a minute, I know when I'm doing my RF diagnostics that I need to be aware that I may not see some of these telegrams. I need to change my settings on my USB RF device to be able to see those telegrams. So those diagnostics are coming through in ETS6 as well. Again, if you're trying to use RF in ETS5, you're really causing yourself a problem and limiting what you can do. You then have the concept of key rings. So this is related to the security around those devices, and you can back up those. You can import them in and keep those special keys safe. If you want to know more about that, we can talk about that offline. It's a new area of RF and KNX Secure, but that's something that if you start doing a lot of RF projects, then that's stuff that you'll need to know about. Okay, and the next one. So if you use ETS6 now, you'll see that you get new options to use these panels at the top, where you can open up multiple panels with different sets of panels inside it, different tabs, I should say, with panels inside it. If you click on the left-hand one, you see all your projects, and you can see everything there. You can see what apps you need to get into. We've got the ability, the licenses inside the settings, and download those and bring those into your instance of KNX. No problem at all. We've lost 3-level group addressing. They've just gone for basically 2-level and 3-level now, but I don't know very many projects that would use 3-level. It still bring them in but it won't let you create a new project with a 3-level structure in it. If you've got unregistered project devices, so those that have not necessarily been properly certified, then it will tell you about that and warn you. It won't let you use them easily. So you're much more aware that every device that you're using is properly certified and will work properly. Filter tables, that's been deprecated as well. So there's no option uh, for for manually editing your filter table. You can still use dummy devices. You can see your filter table, but there's this great new feature of being able to put your groups straight into your bus interface. And I'll show you that in ETS a little bit later. So that's a really nice way of avoiding having to use dummies inside your projects now. Really convenient. And we'll look at that in a demo. Serial numbers. So devices now have serial numbers. If they're a secure device, they'll have their own secure key as well. The two are not the same. This is literally the serial number that's specific to each individual device. The great thing about this is if you know your serial number, you put it inside ETS and you can program with that serial number. So if you're really clever and thinking ahead, you get your device, all your device serial numbers. If they're being installed by somebody else, you get them to tell you where those devices are with the right device serial number, and you do not have to go around pressing a programming button. Or you can bring that. You can still do offline commissioning as well if you want pre-commissioning. If you've got a project a kit that you want to put in somewhere, but if you've got anything that goes on the bus that maybe is a pain to get to, going up ladders into ceilings, whatever else, you can use the serial number and you can download to that device via the serial number. So that is a massive benefit when it comes to the commissioning that needs to be done. Uh, when we do a new project, we can create topology, which has a basic IP backbone and TP line on it. There's also something else interesting with the new project to do with this functional stuff. And again, I'll highlight that when we come to look at ETS and show you what that means. It's related to this semantic, the approach that I'm moving to with the semantic definition of devices and functions. I'm getting running out of breath here. Hopefully everyone's taking this in a bit, but I'll show you pretty much all of this again. Associations. This is the bit I mentioned earlier with associating your groups to your visualization or to a particular bus interface. So when you put an IP router or an IP interface in your project, you'll see the extra physical addresses that it allocates for its ports, for the connections that you can make into that router or IP interface. And normally you would have at least one of those set up for your visualization if you've got something, a product that's looking at your KNX installation and getting the data off the bus. And you can bring all the groups that are associated with that visualization or with whatever other third party product needs to communicate with your system, and you can bring those groups in and you can put them directly to that IP port and that physical address, and that means you don't have to use dummies anymore. You don't. So all of those objects, those groups there, those would have normally been in dummy devices, but now they can just be dragged in against a given channel, and away you go. That builds the filter table, and it's very straightforward. Um, we've got this nice feature of having groups in the right hand side in the properties area, the right hand bar panel that now can show groups in different formats and makes it very nice and easy to make links between devices. You can see that more easily. You could do a similar thing with in ETS5 or ETS6 before 6.3 with the way you set your panels up in your windows. But this is nice. It's a good use of space. It's more convenient than previous. I like this way of doing it and find it useful. So hopefully, hopefully that will be similarly felt by other people using it. So what other things are we finding in ETS? Well, you can write multiple groups to the bus when you're commissioning. So it's able to use the bus more efficiently. So that means commissioning takes less time because the traffic is going around more quickly. There's performance improvements in the archives and in the projects. When you're um, putting a device in, it will ask you for the device ID, secure key basically, and you can scan that either with your camera or with like an external barcode reader. You can scan the QR code on the device box, and it will scan that through and just bring it up. So this is where you can see in the where it says switch camera there, you've got a set of underscores that's filled in with a big key. You don't want to type that in. You can just scan that. You can either do it through a webcam or through an external device. We've talked about the IoT point API devices. Search folders, these are great. You can dynamically build folders that contain devices. You can do searching for different things. We in big projects, this is really useful, where you can filter different devices through and build a custom search folder. There's one built in, which is the download required. So you click that, that will tell you everything you need that needs downloading. And you can just do that. There's other ones that are built in as well, not assigned to a room, for example. So you can start managing your system nice and efficiently. Right. The next thing is a bit of housekeeping. So port 3671, who knows what that is? Well, that is the port that is used for tunneling. And quite often, historically, that would be opened up in port forwarding situations. And um, that means that your KNX installation is then pretty open to be hacked. If somebody is port forwarding 3671 directly, people know what that does now, and they know ways of getting into KNX installations and potentially bricking them. If you've not set a BCU key, which most people don't on installs, if you've not set that, that key can be set remotely over the bus through port 3671, and it will brick your install. And it's happened. So that is a security issue, that it's probably the biggest one with KNX, biggest risk. So we need to get rid of that. We need to stop using port forwarding open through to 3671. Use VPNs, use remote access gateways, so devices like and not limited to the Gear S1, for example. If you're using KNX Secure, it won't do it. You've got data secure and IP secure. So IP secure secures the IP telegrams going between devices on the IP side of the network. Data secure secures the telegrams on the KNX bus. Use VPNs, I should say. And if you're not using KNX Secure, a really good thing to do is to start using BCU keys. That's available in ETS5 and has been available for years and years and years, but people don't use it. And is a good idea to use it if you don't have another way of securing your network. BCU keys will do that, but do not lose the BCU key. Make sure there's a note of it. Maybe if you've got an install, put it in the panel or something like that. But that will protect your devices because it's that not being used that leaves KNX devices vulnerable to someone who knows what they're doing. There's actually a tool to check your install. So if you're on a job where you think you may have port 3671 open, use the QR code here. It will take you through to a link on the KNX website, which then will do a check of your port 3671. It will tell you if you're vulnerable. So give that a go. You might be horrified at what you find and what's potentially open. But if that is open, find a way. multiple ways of securing your devices. And as a minimum, even if you haven't got the ability to put in VPN or a gateway, you can use BCU keys to do that. And that's something you can do on any install right now. So ETS is covers so much now. You know, it's covered all of these things for a long time, but there's new stuff coming along. We've got smart meters, we've got battery storage, we've got energy monitoring coming on, we've got integration through to devices like Alexa and HomeKit. We've got integration through to other IoT devices and the IoT world outside of KNX. We've got so many things where new technologies are coming along, where KNX is now laying the groundwork for continuing the history that KNX has of being a secure, stable, open, and future-proof platform. And ETS 6 is absolutely part of that. So please, if you've not moved already, please move to ETS 6. ETS and KNX has always been something we've been able to rely on to be able to go back to and bring new products in. The new way that the ETS have been used, the new products that are coming along, the new RF segment couplers, RF in couplers and media interfaces, the IoT interfaces, those are carrying that on. And they're doing it in a secure way. They're doing it in a future-proof way. They're doing it in the way that KNX has always done it. And so I really strongly urge you, take a look at, if you've not done it already, take a look at ETS 6. There's a great discounted upgrade offer available now. And it's a good opportunity this month to get on board, start using it, start translating your projects from ETS5. If you've got an ETS5 archive, you can just translate, you can bring those into ETS6 really easily. It just open up the ETS5 archive and you can just, it'll list your projects and you can bring them in and you've got them in ETS6 then really usefully. So it's a great world out there. Please use ETS6. I can't just keep saying it. You've got the KNX secure support then there. You know, you've got quicker functionality with downloads. You've got the link folders and the archiving. Downloads via serial number is a really great thing. It gets you out of a hole or makes things easier on site if you've not been able to pre-address something. The password manager app gives you security over your project passwords, a backup. It's really useful. So there's so many features now. I know people were perhaps a little bit reticent to jump on board with ETS6 when it first came out, but it's been out years now, and they really have resolved a long time ago some of the teething issues with ETS6. We've used it consistently for all our projects for probably easily 2+ years now, if not longer. And you know, we don't go back to ETS5. You know, we just move. If we got an old project that's not been moved across, we move it across and then do it on ETS6. And you know, we just don't have an issue. Let's have a look at ETS6. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick look at the project wizard. Now, this really takes us to the next level with what KNX are trying to achieve with the with moving things to a functional semantic way of looking at things. So if I start a new project and I'm just going to call it Roadshow, you can see I can pick a template. And when I pick a template, it gives me some rooms. It gives me a building structure, basically floors, rooms. It gives me some functions that I might want to use, and I can put those into rooms, and I can give all of these functions into these rooms on this floor. Very different to thinking about going in using group addresses and topology. There's no group addresses, no topology so far. If I click next through now, it should give me the opportunity to do central group addresses. I'm talking here about building structure. It will just Yeah, very straightforward. It gives me that structure there. I can add in a central group if I want, but I'm not going to. If I finish that, it creates a new project, and I am going to have a small issue. Let's create that. Oh my word. It hasn't done this for a very long time. There we go. We're in. It was just being a little bit slow. Right, there we go. So what I've got there, the first thing I see now when I go into a project, and you'll get this on any project you open, is you'll go into buildings view. It's not gone into group addresses and topology. So I can see what my house or my building looks like. So this is very intuitive for new people coming into KNX. And it's a very similar way that a lot of other systems look at defining a project. And so inside a room, I've got functions like a light, and I've got a radiator, I've got windows. It's very, very intuitive. There's no mention of topology or group addresses at the moment in there. If I add some devices, so I can open a panel. So you'll see that it doesn't give me panels like like topology easily and devices. I have to go in and select those. It's because it's just taking me away from thinking about those. But if I go to the catalog and I bring in a device, so let's have a look. I'm going to bring in like an RM8, I think it'll be. So something like a Taban switching actuator. Let's have a look. Should be somewhere down here. Yeah. So I'm going to bring in an RM8. I'm going to put that in a line, but I could put that in a cabinet. If I had a cabinet in here, I could put it in the cabinet. So in fact, why don't I do that? If I add a cabinet into the storeroom, I'm going to call it my KNX cab, and I'll go back to here. I can put that into that cabinet. So again, I'm not necessarily going back to the topology. So if I add that in there, it will bring that in. There we go. So I've now got a switching actuator in there. If I do if I look at the parameters on that, and I look at the channel, I've got my various channels there. I can go into groups here, and if I go over to the right, I can start to look at my topology, or my building functions, I should say. I can look at that as a nice tree view over here. I can open up the storeroom. I've got a ceiling light in there. I've got two groups. It's already created um, for for the ceiling lights. Now, I'm very used to group addresses, and most of I guess the attendees here will be used to group addresses. But I was having a conversation with one of the KNX guys last week about it. He said, "Well, do we actually need to know about group addresses? It's a background thing that's important, but do we actually need to know about it? They're really rethinking how they conceptually approach some of this. So I can go in and very easily I can drag my on off into there. I can drag my feedback into there. And really, really straightforward. And what you'll see now is, instead of just a group address here, I'll see a function up here. So it's not using the group address description, it's using the functional definition. So if I had a group address before, it might be, something, a group address naming convention that I've got. But this is far more easy to see what's going on. I can very quickly see that this channel is a storeroom, it's a ceiling light switching. Very, very easy. And if I was to add, if I was to go into group addresses, then, and I see this has been automatically created by ETS, I could add in a, I could add in a central group, for example, and I can add in a middle group. I'm just going to have lighting for the sake of argument, and I'm going to put an all off. So I can still add in my groups, but if I now have my all off group and I want to put my on off into there, I've now created a second association, and I can see it in here, but its main association, i.e. the one associated with the sending flag, is it shows me the functional definition. If I look across in my KNX cab and I look through here, I'll see the serial number. Now, obviously, this doesn't have a serial number assigned yet because I've just added a device. But if I went through and click on the device and the device properties, I can put the serial number in here and create that. And if I if I if that was a secure device, it would ask me for the secure key, secure device key when I added it. So what are some other things that we looked at? So uh, I can go back to here. I can see my projects. I can add a new panel in here, a new tab, I should say. This can have a completely different setup, and I can save these setups. So if I go down to workspaces, I've got a default workspace. If I save, I can add a new workspace and I can save what I've got currently. So if I go to default, it will give me the original layout. And if I go back to new workspace, it will give me the workspace layout that I was in. So that's another great way of if you've got different setups for different parts of the project commissioning and setup process, then you can use those. If I do, what shall I do? Let me just check the chat. So let's start looking at some of these because we're at almost 12 o'clock. So Mike was saying he's currently using ETS5, just trying to justify the investment. Well, I think hopefully I've given you some pointers on that. I think the issue is going to be that you're going to run out of options at some point because the products you want to use and what you want to do with the projects that you're doing will require ETS6 for a start. There will be some things that won't be open to you using ETS5 that only come in as ETS6, and I think that alone is a reason to move. ETS5 as a supported product is diminishing. So KNX will be just giving you support really for ETS6. Things like dongles. I mean, dongle is a massive issue with ETS5 now because in terms of if you lose your dongle for ETS5, you're stuck because they won't give you a new one for ETS5. They'll give you one for ETS6, but not ETS5. So, I'd be thinking about moving just because of that. If you've got a dongle that's 4 or 5 years old, we've it could it's not necessarily a sustainable way of giving you your access to ETS. So yeah, we've not had any issues with it. Using it on lots and lots of projects now for several years. We rely on it completely and don't use ETS5 at all. Also, certainly at the moment, there's some really good discounts. I think it's a 30% discount, and there is a different price between the upgrade to a full version of ETS as well. So you're getting 30% off the upgrade price. So it's pretty cost effective right now. Right, ETS 6.3.1. Yeah, fantastic. I got it this morning. I've only just started looking at right at that one. I was looked at the beta, but yeah, the proper version is out now. It's absolutely great. I can see several people using 6.3.1. Trevor's saying he's using Cascoda for the KNX IoT devices. Yeah, that device looks fantastic. We looked at it at ISE. I'm about to get one because there's some real. It looks really useful. Not only is it a KNX IoT device, but gives you the border router and an MQTT server as well, and you can throw out all your whatever you want out of KNX to connect to an MQTT broker. Um, Good to see people have been using 6.3 for some time now, and I think hopefully people would confirm that it's definitely worth it. Um, yeah, sorry, Kurt, you're right. I was getting a bit flustered there. That's right. The multi RF was the one to use. But yes, basically put that in the segment and then the segment gets created and you've just extended it. It's a really useful way if you're in an existing project and want to add in RF devices. That's the way to use it. Um, right, Matt. So does the workspaces only apply to a single tab? I usually open multiple tabs and set each to my most used. Good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to try it, Matt. I think it's multi-tab. I think it's multi-tab. So in fact, we can test that quite easily. We can go in here, can't we? Uh, and if I go here and now go to workspace and I should see workspaces. There we go. Go here. Yeah, so I should be able to bring that in up in any tab, and it will. If that was a different project, it should give me that in a different project as well. So yes, you should be able to have like I don't know, like your setup tab and your, linking tab, whatever it might be. However you do that. Okay, can you switch out? This is a good question for me. Can you switch out between instances of licensing on site easily? Cloud the dongle in event of no comms. Okay, so if you assign a license to the cloud, you can take that license and put it on a dongle, but you can't put it back. So once it goes on a dongle, that's it. So it's slightly frustrating because you can't sort of move it backwards and forwards, but I think there's I suspect the reason for that is so they're trying to reduce the risk of um, shared cloud accounts, I would presume. That's only reading between the lines, but no, so you can buy a cloud account and you can put it on a dongle, but once it goes on a dongle, it's locked to the dongle. That's why we had like an old ETS4, I think, license rolling around somewhere, and we did an upgrade through to ETS6, and we use that as a cloud account, and we use that on like a generic engineering account, so any of the engineers can use that. The only thing to be aware is that if you don't unassign that from an instance, it can get locked to that instance. You kind of have to unlock it. There is a way of unlocking it if you can't get to it. But what I mean is, if you do it remotely on a remote site, it's best practice really to release that lock of that cloud license on that instance so you can easily reuse it on another instance of ETS. But we found that works really well, and it's a great get out of jail if you got a dongle issue. And dongles, I do think, we like them for the fact that they are mean you can use them when you haven't got internet access, but dongles do have that physical device issue. Okay. Yes, John, good question. How configurable in the wizard? Yeah, this is something that I think I was talking to Michael Critchfield, one of the leads on the development side of things last week, about this because I think it's still the semantic side. The language is well defined. The sort of metadata side of it, the XML, effectively the JSON side, is well defined, but the the implementation is still maturing, and they're finding ways of building that implementation and developing it all the time. So I think it's a I think you'll see a much more maturity in that in the next sort of 6 months to a year. Um, And yes, because we find okay, the way they organize their groups isn't quite how we would organize the groups, the order of the template. And also things like if you're using a thermostat, you may have a thermostat that you're using in heating mode only, or a thermostat you're using in heating and cooling. It's going to give you a different set of group addresses, different set of objects basically that you're interested in. And they're aware of that, and they're looking at ways of using that. But what they're really trying to do is make it a lot easier for people to get into KNX, a lot more intuitive, get them thinking about how people think about projects, particularly if they're not sort of programmer background, and also make it a lot easier to start not only getting data out to visualizations, but then opening up ways of getting things in and increasing the options for tools to give us more opportunities to get information into ETS. So, just the thought about, say, a visual tool for building your ETS file, that would be great. And this the KNX information model, the semantic side of it really starts to open those opportunities up. Um, so yes, right. I'm going to hand over now back to Iain, and yeah, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy using ETS 6.3.
Thank you, Jeremy. Insightful as always, and plenty of information to get all of us thinking, myself included. So yeah, thank you for giving up your time this morning, Jeremy, for that. I'd like to thank everyone who came today for attending. We have a QR code on your screen, and that QR code will take you straight to our membership page on the KNX UK member site. Um, I'm going to give you the virtues of being a member of KNX UK. Firstly, we're the national group for KNX in the United Kingdom, and hopefully offer anyone inquiring or consumers that KNX is legit and can be trusted. And we offer things like a code of conduct and onboarding packs to our members. One, to give them a guidance on perhaps how they can represent themselves nicely within this marketplace, and two, project paperwork. So how-tos, pricing documents, kind of expected level of information you may want to give out to customers in the quotation stage and then on the completion stage. We're also very proud of the fact you are able to get your ECS card. So this is the CSCS card for electricians. And we are able to facilitate that for you. And all it costs you is the price of membership. So become a member and you can run through as many members of staff as you want through the ECS scheme and get yourselves admitted on site. As a note with that, they've already started the campaign saying that CSCS will become mandatory on all construction projects. And that potentially could include small works at a private house doing an extension. So just be aware of that. Peer support, Jeremy, myself, and many, many, many others. On paper, we're all in competition for the same job, but we speak regularly. If there's a problem someone has, a pain point, our community is very strong, and KNX UK certainly fosters that and tries to facilitate some events and networking opportunities where you can come and meet your peers, ask questions, meet a manufacturer, get into their technical support lines easier. So it's a great way of gaining information and for sharing experience. We have our summer event coming up next month in June at Bankside in the centre of London, fairly close to all the stations. It's a great day full of information, webinar. You'll get to see Jeremy, you'll get to see me, you'll get to meet Tracy if you haven't met her before. And we have manufacturers and distributors who come along and show us what's new and what's great. And we're also focusing on making sure we get plenty of professionals in our related industries, so architects, consultants, engineers, and the like. So it'd be a great opportunity for you to come along, meet us, consider membership seriously, or come along if you're a member already and take advantage of what we've put on for you. So that's it. That's enough of the chat. I just want to thank you all again for coming. We can't do these events without an audience, and today that is you. So I humbly thank you all for giving up your time with us for the last hour and a half or so. I'd like to thank Jeremy for his unwavering support at every opportunity, and I think you'll all agree Jeremy's a great ETS ambassador. We're very lucky to have him, both as a member and as someone who's happy to contribute. And I'd also like to thank Tracy for her unwavering efforts with all of these things. She gets given a task and she makes it work, and we're forever grateful for that, and as are all of our members. That's it. Nothing more to say. Enjoy your Tuesdays, and we'll be tracking how many of you switch up to 6.3.1 over the coming months. It'd be great to hear some more stories from you and successes, failings, whatever you want. Share them. And thanks again for coming.